The Philadelphia Eagles have to do these following things in order to be victorious against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in Week 9. And Philadelphia is really on a roll right now, looking for 4 dubs in a row. And if they beat Jacksonville, they're in an excellent position to make the playoffs and to compete for this division and potentially win the NFC at 6-2. The Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, are 9-2 since the start of the 2023 season when passing for 250-plus yards. That is 4th best in the NFL during that time frame. The Jags, on the other hand, have allowed 249.8 passing yards per game since 2023. That is the 2nd worst mark in the NFL. So if Jalen Hurts is able to have success through the air and he can hit some explosives to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and others, it points to the Eagles being able to pull out a victory here. Philadelphia is also undefeated when forcing 1 or more turnovers this year. And we know that Trevor Lawrence can put the ball in harm's way. That's been the case throughout his career. With interceptions and fumbles, ball security is a problem. And the Eagles are 12-3 when forcing 1 or more turnovers since the start of last season. The Jags have 21 turnovers since the start of 2023. That is tied for 4th most in the NFL. So it's not just Lawrence. Ball security is a problem for that offense in general. And this is a Jacksonville team where when you watch them, you're like, they have some players. They're really talented on both sides of the ball, but they always shoot themselves in the foot. Offensively, they're turning it over. In the red zone, they're inefficient. Defensively, they just aren't coached well enough. Defensive coordinator has been a problem under Doug Pederson. He's had to run through a couple of them. And this is an example of that. The Jags have turned it over on downs 9 times in the red zone since 2023. That's the most in the NFL. So Dougie P is still very aggressive like he was in Philadelphia, but they haven't converted on those 4th down attempts. Tied for the 4th most turnovers in the game the last 2 years. Not a sustainable way to play. And this year, the Jags have held leads, and they've been in a lot of games. They simply haven't been able to close, and a big reason for that, them making mistakes, them turning the ball over, leaving meat on the bone, and leaving money on the table. For this Eagles offense, what I've really loved during this 3-game winning streak, Jalen Hurts is playing clean football, 9 combined touchdowns, 0 giveaways during this winning streak. The play action has really opened things up in the pass game and in the run game, and that includes Jalen Hurts taking snaps from under center. And we saw against the Bengals that Kellen Moore called a couple of those plays, and it led to big plays for this Eagles offense. This Eagles offensive line, even though against Cincinnati, they're without Jordan Mailata and Mekhi Becton, they are playing bully ball when they're at full strength or even when they have backups. And when this Eagles offensive line can insert its dominance and they get their confidence going, they just wear down teams throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game, and they sense that, and then they're just thirsty for blood. And so this Eagles team is a team right now that has this identity of explosive plays downfield in the pass game. They're incorporating more play action. Jalen Hurts out of the shotgun under center. That makes the Eagles a little bit more difficult to guard. Saquon Barkley is having an NFL Offensive Player of the Year type of season. And so the Eagles have become a team that's very difficult to defend. Elsewhere, A.J. Brown right now, according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded wide receiver in the NFL. And his completion percentage when targeted is also so high up there. And basically what that means, he's catching balls that a lot of other wide receivers aren't able to catch and do not catch. And it just speaks to his physical dominance, his ball tracking skills, and his sure hands. It was also really good to see Devontae Smith pop off against Cincinnati. Up until last week, he had had a silent year, dealt with the concussion against New Orleans, against Tampa Bay, but that's the player that he's capable of being, and when the Eagles are more well-rounded, that's when they're at their best. Greg Calcaterra, I see you, son. Dallas Goedert goes out. He has been a very viable pass-catching target for Jalen Hurts, who has trusted him. And the backups on this Eagles team in general have really stepped up. And Nick Sirianni talked about this week. Tyler Steen at right guard. Fred Johnson at left tackle. He gave up one pressure when he was one-on-one with Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is one of the top edge rushers in the game. And then defensively, a player like Isaiah Rodgers has to step in for Darius Slay after he left that game with the groin injury. Forces the interception with sticky coverage on Jamar Chase. As for this Eagles defense, what I love right now, the pass rush has gotten going. 5 sacks against Cleveland, 8 against New York, 1 against Cincinnati. I wouldn't be overly concerned by that. The game plan for the Bengals, get rid of the ball quickly. But this pass rush is starting to turn the corner, and these young defensive linemen are really developing before our eyes. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, they are studs in the secondary, playing elite football right now. I like what Vic Fangio is doing with timely blitz calls here and there. Historically hasn't been a defensive coordinator who dials up a lot of pressure, but he's doing it in moments that have been beneficial for Philadelphia, and he's also mixing up his coverages and his personnel. That is the formula for being a really good team, where you are well-rounded, you are loaded with talent, you're balanced, deep, complementary, and you are well-coached. And I think that's a big reason why the odds makers have Philadelphia with the third best odds to win the NFC. Now, the Detroit Lions right now are the best team in the NFC. The 49ers, 500, they're leaky a little bit. They've had to deal with a lot of injuries. They haven't played up to their level, but the odds makers like San Francisco because, let's face it, they're extremely talented, and if they can get it together, they're a dangerous team. But for Philadelphia to have 7-1 odds right now, it goes to show you that they're impressing a lot of people. As for how the Eagles stack up as a team, offensively, they are 10th in points per game at 24.4, and hopefully they're going to start peaking here very soon. They're 8th in yards per game, 367.1, 12th in yards per play, 21st on third down, sub 37%. That's a red flag. They need to be better there, and they're 19th in the red zone. So Philadelphia can really cure some of their third down issues and red zone problems. They can be a borderline unstoppable offense, which is what I meant by hoping that they peak at some point soon, which is the time where you want to peak because you never want to peak too early. Defensively, how about these numbers for Vic Fangio's defense? 7th in points per game, 7th in yards per game, 6th in yards per play, 20th on third downs. They've struggled to get off the field on some of the money downs, but when teams get inside the red area, the Eagles do a good job of forcing field goals and not letting them find pay dirt. 42.8%, 6th best in the NFL. The Jags, very average football team. 21st in points per game at 21.5, 14th in yards per game at 339.9. They are 10th in yards per play at 5.8, but they're not good on third downs. 29th, sub 32% there. And then they also struggle in the red zone, middle of the pack, 55.1% for their red zone touchdown percentage. Defensively, legitimately one of the worst units in the entire National Football League. 29th among 32 teams in points per game allowed at 28 even. 29th in yards per game. 31st in yards per play. 25th in third down percentage. And 28th in the red zone. So Philadelphia's offense is going to have an opportunity in Doug Pederson's return to Philadelphia to smack the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so my keys to the game: continue to stay balanced. Brian Baldinger had a very interesting tweet, and I want to pull it up here on the fly as we're recording this show, because Philadelphia, among some of the best teams in the NFL, they have a high run percentage. And highest percentage of run teams through 8 weeks, Philadelphia Eagles 55%, number 1 in the NFL. They're 5-2. Steelers 54%. They are 6-2. Ravens 52%, 5-3. This might come as a surprise. The Detroit Lions, who are just lighting up the scoreboard of late, 52% run. They are 6-1, and the Commanders 6-2. There are other teams, Buffalo, Kansas City, Chargers, Green Bay, Minnesota, San Francisco, all flirting at 50%. Those are all some of the best teams in the NFL. And so I want to see Philadelphia stay balanced. And I've made this point of late, even if the run doesn't work, stick with it. because this Eagles offensive line at some point is going to figure it out. They're going to open up a hole for Saquon Barkley, and he's too good to be held in check throughout 4 quarters. He's going to pop off a long run at some point, and that run can change the complexion of the game. And then that run sets up the pass for Jalen Hurts, and now that they're incorporating more play action against a bad defense like Jacksonville, that's how they can cook. That's how Hurts can cook. For Hurts, play clean ball. 9 combined touchdowns, no giveaways during this winning streak. It's been awesome. Pressure Trevor Lawrence. If you do that, he will fold, and the Jags will turn the ball over. Brian Thomas, more than 500 receiving yards already as a rookie with 5 touchdowns. He is the real deal. Quinyon Mitchell, when matched up against some of the top wideouts in the game, he's been sensational. Great rookie matchup this week. Quinyon, when he matches up with BT. And then ETN, of course, a very good player. And the Jags have been prone to being a sloppy team. If you play into that and you become sloppy as well, that's how you can lose this game. If you play clean and you take care of business and you dominate a bad team the way that the Eagles should be able to win this ball game in that manner, they'll be victorious. So predict the score. Jags, Eagles, Sunday. We're doing a watch party for this game right here live on Eagles Now. I hope to see all of you there. I'm going with the Birds, and I think that they score a lot of points against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They force a couple of Jags turnovers. They win rocking the Kelly Green unis, and the fans are going to be into it. They'll celebrate Doug Pederson returning, but he doesn't celebrate with the dub, 33-17. Birds move to 6-2.